And once FTX collapsed, they're in this position of saying, well, how can I don't want to get in trouble for putting money into crypto. And then the SEC comes out and says, hey, this is illegal or this can't be done, AKA what they just did to Kraken, right? So I think that's the bigger issue. So I do agree that until this cloud is out of the way, people should expect Bitcoin and crypto overall to not have a major bull run. And so this level, again, we'll call it like 21,400. Watch to see if that level holds for the next week or so. If it doesn't hold and we break, be very careful.
Hey guys, welcome back to Let's Talk Crypto. The US administration has been intensifying their stance against cryptocurrency lately, and with each passing day, more evidence is emerging that suggests there is an underlying agenda behind recent events. Not long ago, speculations were running wild that the demise of FTX had some ulterior motives. After all, it was public knowledge that Sam Bankman-Fried donated money to political groups in which his mother had a vested interest. Some people like Mark Yusko have even called SBF and his ex-girlfriend Caroline useful idiots, as they seem to be used as puppets in a bigger scheme. Now we see the Securities and Exchange Commission also attacking Binance. In this video, pro trader Gareth Soloway reacts to all of this and expresses his opinion on the SEC's latest enforcement actions, and what that means for the cryptocurrency market. We will also discuss something shady involving Senator Elizabeth Warren and the office of Chairman Gary Gensler, that proves they lied under oath. As usual, Gareth will also go over the Bitcoin charts to show us the critical levels he's watching, to determine if this rally will continue or if we're going to break lower. He'll also share his insights on how to prepare for any potential movements in the industry. Today's video is going to be packed with insights and shocking revelations, so make sure to stay until the end. Let's begin with Gareth's view on the crypto regulations enforced by the SEC. But before we do, please consider subscribing to our channel, as we bring you daily content on the latest crypto news. And now, let's jump right into the video.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, it's more of a matter of like kind of understanding the underlying reason they did that. What's the reasoning? Are they trying to protect people, or are they saying, So for me, I don't know honestly enough about it versus to make that decision on whether it was a good or bad thing. Again, I think that the SEC has a tendency to overreach a little bit versus letting the natural market take its course. But at the same time, I don't know if they know about certain shady activities that were going on that maybe aren't okay. So yeah, it's a tough one. These type of situations, unless you really have the behind the scenes information, it's so hard to make that judgment. So I don't know if Gary Gensler needs to be out of office, but what I do know is that for this market to finally bottom, you need clarity, you need transparency, and you need basically the ability to understand what the rules are. And for a mom and pop buying a half or a quarter or a third of a Bitcoin, I don't think it matters that much. It's kind of like a long shot, like a lottery ticket. But we have to remember that as much as we don't want to have it be this way, institutional money, big money, the billions, the $1 trillion players, they're the ones that are going to push crypto in one direction or the other, right? So those players are not coming near this space with significant money. And it's not that they don't want to. I think that deep down, hedge fund managers, they want to be involved in crypto. They see lots of potential upside in crypto, but they can't do it legally, right? They have this fiduciary responsibility. And once FTX collapsed, they're in this position of saying, well, how can I don't want to get in trouble for putting money into crypto. And then the SEC comes out and says, hey, this is illegal or this can't be done, AKA what they just did to Kraken, right? So I think that's the bigger issue. So I do agree that until this cloud is out of the way, people should expect Bitcoin and crypto overall to not have a major bull run.
It's well known that some politicians are corrupt and go out of their way to conspire with each other. This Fox News clip shows us a real example of Elizabeth Warren and Gary Gensler teaming up to target the crypto space. Pay close attention to this.
The Heritage Foundation Oversight Project, of which I'm associated, through a FOIA request, obtained emails from Warren's office to the office of Chairman Gary Gensler 2 days before his Senate testimony back in September of 2021. The email from Warren's economic policy advisor includes a list of questions. Get this, a list of questions that Senator Warren planned to ask, along with suggested answers for the chairman of the SEC. The advisor also wrote, quote, "Let me know if you're okay with the questions as currently written." 2 days later, she sent a follow-up, quote, Let me know if it's looking like the chair has any issue with the framing of the questions. Definitely don't want to put him in a tough spot, end quote. And it appears the chairman didn't have any issue with these questions because Senator Warren asked almost verbatim from the email. Check this out.
Chair Gensler, advocates say crypto markets are all about financial inclusion, but the people who are most economically vulnerable are the ones who are most likely to have to withdraw their money the fastest when the market drops. Does this sound like the path to financial inclusion to you?
Look at that. Do you see the answer at the bottom of the highlighted part? It even states the answer and what it should be. The whole premise of a hearing is to answer questions and get resolutions, not to push someone's narrative, so Elizabeth Warren and Gary Gensler are lying and plotting under oath. This was Gareth's reaction after watching the Fox News video.
I mean, disbelief, but not, like part of me is like, this is just so crazy. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but this is what these guys do, right? I mean, like, Are we any of us really that surprised? And this goes back to what crypto is, right? Crypto is a way for people to free themselves from the handcuffs of this governmental fiat currency BS and all that. So, I mean, in the very least, they can try to do what they want to it. I really don't think that they can destroy it at this point. They could try to regulate, but I think that for the most part, it's going to continue regardless.
Haters are going to hate, and that's what I think we have.
Haters going to hate?
Isn't that the truth? Haters are going to hate, right? Yeah. I mean, and I think you're right on that, is that you have this scenario where right now crypto's gotten crushed, people have gotten hurt with FTX. Like, there's going to be more vocal naysayers, but I still think that a huge amount of politicians, when it comes down to it, recognize how many jobs are now reliant on blockchain technology. You have all these big companies like Microsoft getting into the mix here, and all this lobbyist money too from these companies. So I think when it comes back to it, that's what's going to rule the day. It's going to be jobs, right? Especially in the US, because, right, we don't need China or we don't need other countries taking the advantage here. We've got to be on the leading edge of blockchain technology.
The Securities and Exchange Commission recently filed a legal action against Paxos, the issuer of Binance stablecoin, following the lawsuit against Kraken. The SEC claims that BUSD is classified as a security and should have been registered accordingly. We have yet to determine the full implications of this process or how it will affect Binance and the crypto space, as USDT is one of the biggest stablecoins. Now let's take a look at the technicals. According to some people, Bitcoin had its first ever death cross on the weekly chart. Let's see what Gareth has to say about it, and what the charts are telling him about Bitcoin's price action.
Yeah, so I'm not a huge fan of death crosses or golden crosses overall in technical trading, right? The main reason is because they're so publicized by the media that, and it's kind of, you notice the coin, right? The death cross, or the golden cross. So it's really, it's more of a media thing. The only time I pay attention to death crosses or golden crosses is when price is coming into that cross at the exact time it's crossing. All right, so let's imagine here's a death cross, right? So the death cross is right at this pivot point, right in the middle. The only time that it's important is when price is coming up to it. Then that's a no-brainer short where it's going to fall to the downside. So those type of situations I really pay attention to. But like you said, golden cross on the daily, a death cross on the weekly, how do you even figure that one out when there's multiple signals in both? The one thing I will tell you is that I haven't bought this rally, meaning I don't buy that all of a sudden we're in a new bull market yet in crypto, right? So the main issues I have is that while this was an absolutely remarkable rally up, in the scheme of things, if you zoom out on the chart, it's still a relatively small move, and you could arguably say that this move here is the same size as this move here. I mean, it's not much different in dollar amount to the upside, nor is it this low to this high, right? So for me, it's nice to see, but it was coming off of the December kind of tax loss selling. So once December's over and people have sold for tax purposes to reduce what they owe the government, there's just naturally this void of sellers. So it allows for rallies to take place in the stock market, in the crypto space. And then again, we don't have transparency. We hear, now Kraken's being targeted. We hear all these other things. And so at this point, I'm not ready to buy the whole narrative of, we're now in a new bull market and here we go. I want to see more proof of it before I put myself behind that. one of the interesting things that you bring up is sentiment, right? And sentiment is so important. And what I didn't like about this rally is that we literally, what did we go up 35% off the lows? You had the same bullish sentiment in the market that we had it when we were at 65,000. And that people jumped on the bull bandwagon far too fast. The first move in any beginning of a bull market that occurs. So they're scared shitless about that first move. It's too scary. They think, oh my goodness, this has to be a fake out. In this situation with crypto, everyone was like, new bull market, here we go. Here it goes back to all-time highs. That's a dead indicator. It's not a new bull market, right? People haven't been, gone through the despair and the kind of the giving up phase of a bear market. So that coupled with the fact that we now need to establish ourselves and actually make higher highs, that would be something that would get my attention. So the one positive here, and this is what's interesting, right? So this area here, and let me just draw some rectangles here. So this area right here, that was where FTX collapse began. Here, notice how when we came back to that, it was resistance. It was tough for the markets to break through, but eventually it did. Look at where we find ourselves back to, right at that same level. So this is an important level for Bitcoin. If there's one level you're following that could tell us there's a bull market here, if this level holds and we can go take out the high right here from which was around 24,300, that would be a positive. If this yellow line breaks and price starts trading below, you're honestly probably headed back to sub 20,000 on Bitcoin. So this level, again, we'll call it like 21,400. Watch to see if that level holds for the next week or so. If it doesn't hold and we break, be very careful.
Are we still aiming for the 9,000 or 10,000 price target that Gareth predicted a few weeks ago?
I actually am still in the camp that we still have some further downside to go. Yeah, definitely in that camp. One of the biggest concerns I have about the crypto market is not that we're not going to get regulation and transparency. It's actually my worry about the overall economy and then the impact on the stock market. So what I'm seeing coming in the future is that we're going to slip into a recession, right? Probably second half of 2023, we go into a recession. The markets are going to turn to the Federal Reserve and say, okay, could you print us out of this recession like you've done every down move in the economy over the last 15, 16 years? And the Fed is going to say, guys, we would love to, but the problem is inflation's still, let's say, 3% or 3.5%. So we can't. Now the market's faced with what I would say is like this long, drawn-out recession period where earnings are going down. And you might say, well, what the heck do earnings have to do with crypto? Well, the problem is if investors start to dump stocks and we say, let's say we see another 25% down move in the S&P, now figure out how crypto holds up in face of that, right? So if we see a mass exodus of risk assets, it's hard to imagine crypto doesn't get caught in that wave.
Let's take a quick look at Ethereum before continuing with Bitcoin, and having Gareth give his price targets in case this rally continues.
Yeah, so what I'm seeing here on the ETH chart is you're starting to break this upward channel. We broke that line right here, and then we're now breaking this little low right here. So there is a level where you would look for a technical bounce on ETH, and it's right down here, right? And what you can see here is that if you connect the lows right here, there's an upsloping trend line. And if you connect this area, there's a flat trend line. And one of my favorite things about this is that trend lines coincide. When you have trend lines that work together and they merge, it becomes an even greater support. So think about it like this. If you have a wood floor below you and you take a sledgehammer to it, at some point you're going to break through that wood floor. If you were to put a wood floor with a cement floor underneath, it's going to be really hard to sledgehammer through that thing. And so that's what the equivalent of two trend lines converging right here would be. So on a technical basis, if I saw a dump on ETH to around 1320, 1330, I'd be a buyer for a bounce there on that chart. Absolutely. So there are some really important levels that if we did continue up, I would watch for. And the first thing I would pay attention to is the lows from 2021 right here, when we had that mega first surge and we came down and we kind of sideways right around 30,000. And then we had the second up wave and then we kind of came down here. And if we put a trend line right through these, I mean, look at how many of these lows it connects through all the way through. All right. So you have this area here, and then all of these right in here, and then all the way this sideways chop right there. So if we were to get above 30,000 and we were to hold above, and I just don't mean like, you know, one day above doesn't matter to me. It's can the price establish itself above, essentially start building support there. And if we were to get above 30,000, I think you have to start taking the possibility of a low in the chart at the 15 to 16,000 level seriously. So that would be my first major technical level to watch.
It's hard to tell where Bitcoin's price will go in the short term. Do you think it will go up or down first? As for the SEC and politicians' plots against cryptocurrency, it's difficult to predict how that will play out at this stage. What are your thoughts on all of this? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give us a like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. This is Let's Talk Crypto, and we'll see you in the next video.